Cricket highly recommends it. The end. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We hope you enjoyed this. We are nearing the end of our first month-long stay in an Airbnb, traveling full-time. So we're gonna give you kind of our big takeaways from the first month so far, and we're gonna give you some tips as well if you're thinking about doing this either full-time or you wanna try it out just part-time as well, just to get away from your home for a full month. We'll let you know what to expect. Tracy she made it very clear that I have to throw in the caveat that this is just 1 month so far, so it's just a sample size of one. So we can give you tips, we can give you advice, kind of what to expect, but we don't have a lot of data to back it up yet. So take everything that we say perhaps with a little grain of salt.
Right.
But nevertheless, what we have to offer, I think, is still worthwhile.
It is, yeah. If you're considering traveling via Airbnb, don't let this make or break your decision. Stay tuned for future months to come, because we're going to be testing it out for a while here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll give you more info as each month comes to an end. All right, Tracy, the first question I have for you is, what was your biggest win from our first month traveling?
I mean, I think the biggest win is that we were able to do it. But overall, I'd say, considering how we planned things and what's coming to fruition, how we expected it to, I do think the hub and spoke model is working well.
Explain the hub and spoke model, because not many, I shouldn't say that. I don't think as systematically and logically as you do, so explain to our watchers what the hub and spoke model is, the way that you're talking about it.
Yeah, so the hub and spoke model, what I mean by that is when we planned, we said we want month-long stays. They don't necessarily need to be in like a tourist area or a really popular area, but central to some different areas we want to see. And then, you know, we can work from the Airbnbs throughout the week, and then on the weekends go out to the different locations that we're actually interested in seeing. So like, that's worked really well for us, I think, this month. We were living for the weekends. But yeah, just like we're very central to a lot of different things. So I do recommend that. It was cheaper to find Airbnbs versus in like that really hot spots or touristy areas, to kind of find them in the middle of nowhere, but they were central to everything. So that's worked really well.
Yeah.
Because it's not a good time for a squeaky toy buggy.
Cinematic pause. Get your butt out of my face. What in the world? We don't need Gumby right now. You give it to me. Give it to me. Oh, Cricket.
Hey guys, you want to see my Gumby? Gumby wants to be in this. She's getting...
Oh, your breath smells like fish. My biggest win from the month is going to seem a little maybe weirder or stranger, but again, I just made the reference that I don't think as like in systems and organized as Tracy. I think my biggest win from this month is I'm experiencing personal growth beyond the amount that I actually anticipated as a result of changing up my environment and being in a completely new place where I don't know a lot of people. And I don't want to go down this rabbit trail and get super into it, but in a nutshell, essentially, because nobody really knows me up here, and I have a lot more freedom with my own time to think about different things, it's allowed me to almost grow exponentially. And I know that might, like, if somebody's watching this, be like, what is he talking about? Did he drop acid before he hit record? It's like, no, I don't do drugs anymore. Anymore. No, seriously, like, just from changing up where we're living, I'm noticing a lot of personal growth just as a result of living in a new place. I don't know how to explain it. All I'm trying to say is try it. It's actually really, really cool and fun to experience.
And I think we got used to like being in our routine, and this has made us be a lot more nimble in having to like, you know, flex from that routine. Even Even like our work setups, before we had 2 separate offices with fancy desks and monitor setups, and now like I'm working from like an antique table.
Yeah, I'm working from a desk that my grandmother probably worked from when she was a child.
Yeah, and we just got like this little like pocket door dividing us, so it has made it like a lot more interesting.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think it's been fun.
Loosen us up a little bit.
Yeah. So switching gears, Tracy, what has been the biggest fail of the past month?
Definitely one of them, and it was to be expected. Airbnbs aren't necessarily set up for long-term living for the most part. So like this one in particular, it's pretty well stocked compared to some of the other ones we've been in. But when it comes to like the kitchen, for example, like very limited on
3 plates.
Yeah, 3 plates, like 3 forks.
There's only 3 of us.
I know.
The cricket won't use a fork.
But yeah, even like pots and pans and stuff. So yeah, I think that it's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a fail because it was kind of to be expected, but it is, again, it's making us have to be a little more flexible versus what we used to have. And then also, again, to be expected, our first couple trips here are actually like not shared, but they're connected to a main house. So that kind of has its own limitations, like the noise. So like right now we're in like a basement, so it's like there's noise upstairs, sharing the washer and dryer units. So again, all I think kind of wraps into Justin's like it's making us grow personally, because we can't necessarily just do things how we've always done them. And it's definitely loosening us up.
Forces us out of our comfort zones.
Yeah, for sure.
We had everything that we wanted and needed in our space.
Yeah.
And now we don't.
And as an introvert, I never had to interact with anybody to use any of those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, I don't know that there would be fails, but just things to consider that make it a little more difficult of an adjustment.
Well, yeah, and I should have stated too, I think we always put a negative connotation on fails and failures, but I think you just made a really good point. When we go through these failures and these challenges and things that are pushing us out of our comfort zone, that goes back to what I was saying. That's where the growth comes from. I'd say my biggest one is very similar in that where we were living before we started doing this, like you said, we had our very structured routines. We had our nice offices, our nice desk spaces. I had my beautiful recording setups for my YouTube channel. And here, I don't have any of that. As you can see, we've got this lovely yellow-white background.
Concrete.
The lighting is all yellow in here. So as a result, for an example, I've had to make some adjustments with a lot of the stuff that I've been recording, but it goes back to the first thing that I said. It's actually making me more comfortable on camera, like going out into the woods and walking around and talking and recording on my phone as opposed to in front of my computer as I would typically do it. It's not something that I could have ever foreseen myself having to do, but I'm actually grateful that I'm doing it now. Here's what went better than I expected it to go. Getting out of the house and doing things, especially where we are in New Hampshire, doing hikes and stuff. We've been a lot more outdoorsy and a lot more intentional, and there's been a lot more separation from work for me. Because when we were still in our routines, like I was working most of Saturdays, sometimes even on Sundays, but now because we know that we have things that we want to get out and do on the weekends, I've been front loading my weeks, actually getting the same amount of stuff, if not more, done during the week so that we have the time on the weekends to spend time together and see the seas.
See the seas. I think I'd have to agree, actually, because before, I don't even know the last time I did any kind of amount of physical exercise, which is horrible.
Which, by the way, you guys, coming out probably in the next, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks. We got to edit all of the footage from the hikes we did, but you guys are going to get a kick out of seeing Tracy on some of these hikes.
I'm so miserably out of
shape.
She's
fallen in like the tiniest streams you've ever seen. They're like this a She steps into them and falls down on her butt. She's coming down the mountain like a 98-year-old woman. She found a stick and was using it as a cane.
It was not.
And you're 24 years old. 24. Guys,
I've
let
been
this be a
working-
lesson
Yes.
to you. Don't neglect your physical
Yeah,
health.
I was gonna say I've been working from a desk since the beginning of 2020, pre-COVID, and like, yeah, just physical activity has not been something I've done. So it's really good, and I feel good about it. It's like making me feel better, getting out and doing it. But it is a struggle on some of them. I will say some of them also we did made harder than they needed to be as well, because we like to off trail it a little bit or
A
go
lot of it.
faster than most people. So.
Yeah.
But yes, I am out of shape, and I think the physical activity is going to be really good, has been good for both my physical and mental health. So
Just to elaborate a little more before I ask you the next question, but I think essentially what you're saying is if we were still at home and not doing what we're doing, traveling full time and in a new environment, we wouldn't be doing a lot of the stuff that we're doing now. So perhaps that's what you're saying went better than you expected, is we're doing more things that we wouldn't be doing.
well, yeah, because we kind of like broke our routine and the hub and spoke model. The whole
Hub
point.
and smoke, y'all. Hub and smoke.
No, the whole point of like the hub and like it would be a very depressing thing if we were just spending all our time just in this Airbnb like we were doing in our original home.
I would kill myself.
But because we know, like you said, there's just things that we want to see, which is why we chose this location. Like, it's forcing us out of our comfort zone, we're breaking our routine, and we're introducing new habits that are going to benefit us in the long term. So, and Cricket loves it. Cricket,
She's pooped. We
Yeah.
did about 8 miles yesterday hiking.
yes, yeah, she's still recovering, but she's loving it, because that's one thing. We were both in our routine at home and so wrapped up in work, we weren't always like great about getting her out as much as we needed to. So now she loves it. She's out daily.
Yeah, well, and she's honestly, like, she's a great dog, but she's a terrible worker. She literally gets nothing done most work days, so I think this is more her element.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
All play, no work. Okay, so the opposite of that then. What went worse than you expected?
Building on some of the stuff I said earlier, like the shared space, neither of us like our sleep being interrupted, so noises above us at night and like till midnight, and then at 4 a.m. they get aggravating. More than that, I think if I could help it in the future, I would not book a basement. Not only for that reason, but also there's not a lot of natural light down here.
Oh, it's yellow.
It's like he said, it's all yellow. We've got one window over here, and then there's a window over there which is actually unfortunately broken, so we can't even open it. So it just gets very like stuffy in here, and again, not great for the mental health because it's just dingy. But that's why being able to get out so much has been really great for us, and it offsets that. So I think those would probably be some of my items.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that went worse than I expected it, because I always set my expectations really low, so I'm never disappointed. It's weird though, because sometimes I still am disappointed. Maybe we need to set them lower. But no, yeah, for the most part, the setup of the Airbnb, I'm grateful to be in this location and to have it and be able to do what we're doing, but this one is not ideal because of all the things that Tracy said. But I forgot to mention this because this is something that actually went better than I expected. An upside to staying where we are is that literally like a quarter of a mile from here are just trails that go through the woods for miles, and I go on them. I don't think there's been but one day that I even went on the day that it was raining and snowing. So I've been able to get into the woods and walk and take the dog out into the woods each and every day. It's all about trade-offs. I mean, it's kind of lame to say, but it's true. It's like I'm trying to see the positive in it because it is a huge positive for me to be able to take a work break and walk in the woods. So I'm seeing the light. Not the yellow light, the real natural sunlight.
Well, I think we have gotten really lucky with weather up here too.
We
Like
have.
it's been abnormally warm because we're in New England right now, near 90 degree, which according to the locals is like unheard of in May. So
Yeah,
it's been nice. It's cold now. It got cold again. But for the majority of the time we've been here, it's been really, really nice.
really nice.
Real nice.
Okay, would you recommend month-long Airbnb stays to our viewers or anybody who has not yet done it? Would you recommend it? After just 1 month, guys, sample size of 1. After just 1 month, would you recommend it?
I do think so. I think the positives definitely outweigh the negatives of just getting out and seeing things and changing up the environment. You know, that's just something we enjoy. That said, there are things you can take into account. Like if you saw our video about tips for booking Airbnbs, take some advice from there and actually do it better
Yeah.
than I did.
Scope them out
yeah.
harder, and we'll be scoping them
Yeah.
out harder as we move
But
forward.
yeah, like even considering things that we necessarily didn't think of before, like what would it be like to stay in a basement? Like we knew some of the things, but like natural light was not something that I thought we would struggle with.
Yeah.
So I would recommend it. I had another thought and I lost it. We are doing great today.
I think we're doing amazing. If you guys think we're doing amazing, hit the like button, drop
yeah.
us a comment, subscribe to the channel. Tracy's killing it.
No, and then the other thing I would say is definitely pack, if you're able to, some essentials. So Justin, if you saw our video from last week, Justin made fun of me for my totes that we brought to bring in the roof rack, but I think we've been into every single one of them since being here. So just some kitchen essentials, some like basic cleaning supplies, extra like toiletries and things like that that have come in handy being here, again, just because they're not set up for full-time living. So
Yeah. I would definitely recommend doing it for pretty much all of the reasons that I've already expounded upon in this video. Change up your environment. It forces you intentionally to change. Your personality will change. Your beliefs, your views, your behaviors will change, and it's a good thing.
Well, and I think traveling, we wanted to travel for a while, and it's really kind of bringing that like thought to fruition. And we've been able to see like where we're staying, the majority of the state that we're staying in. Like I have a really good sense of the state because we've been from the coast side all the way to the inside border. It's been nice. All of the state and national parks,
National parks,
national forests, state parks, national forests in between.
State forests.
But yeah, so I do think it's pretty cool, almost surreal that we've been able to do it.
Yeah. And so Tracy already jumped ahead. She didn't know what questions I was going to ask her, but I was going to ask her what tips does she have for you guys if you're thinking about doing this. So she's going back to bringing some additional essentials. So if you haven't seen that video before, we'll link it up here.
There's two separate ones. There's ones tips about booking Airbnbs, like just some things we look for to identify red flags and whatnot. And then there's a second one that's about the essentials. Travel-friendly essentials for full-time Airbnb living.
All right, so what Tracy just mentioned was the travel essentials, so we'll link that video up here. And then that would be my number one tip to having learned from this first month stay is scope out the Airbnbs before you book them. We're learning things a little bit the hard way. That's how I've done my whole life, and look at me, I'm kicking butt.
But we're learning so you don't have to.
Yes, and so there are some tips that we put together too for booking those extended stays, and we'll link that video right here.